What's going on and on here? And I prepped the video, meant to post it last night, but then I never had a chance to record it, work, family, all that stuff. So I'm going to go through this today. And I want to talk about each one of these sets because there's a lot of really important information that's starting to come out. Some of it's changing by the day. Some of it's, not changing at all. And this is as it relates to reprints and things like that. So first things first, we continue to sit right around all-time highs on a lot of these boxes. Now, some of the SVBase boxes, we're down here a little bit. This is because there's like one or two sellers, no-name sellers, etc. It does look like the Pokemon vending machines were restocked with some Paradox and some SVBase, which may be why all of a sudden there's some no-name lists or sellers racing. I don't want to say racing the bottom, but undercutting the market. So that's interesting. But really, what I want to talk about is we are now 6.5 months, 7, 8, 9, call it 9 months from rotation on SVBase, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian, Paradox 151, and Paldean Fates. So every day that goes by, the reprint risk of these sets becomes almost infinitely reduced, because if we're not hearing anything about reprints, that means there's no reprints coming for 4 to 6 weeks at best case, which just kind of condenses the timeline. So let's talk about SVBase. And SVBase is the one set that did get a massive reprint shortly after it came out. But we're still over $200 a box across the board. These are still selling about 5 a day. SVBase is probably my second favorite set of 1 through 4, just risk reward perspective, just because it's $200. And it's the best base set that has ever been, if you will. Paldea Evolved, $300. Like the set, don't love the set. Don't love it at $300. That's for sure. At $225, I thought it was good. I have a feeling Paldea Evolved is probably not going to age as well as some of these other sets. Kind of sprinted out ahead of everything because of the Magikarp. At some point, the rest of this is going to catch up. But 9 of these sell in a day. Now, again, there was a big buyout of these on Mayhem Day, so this number is a little skewed, but it's still sitting at $300. Obsidian Flames $245. Absolutely hate this price point, just based on there's not a lot in the set. And look, I have a ton of ancillary products. I have a ton of loose packs from opening Armarugi X boxes and some other items, but I don't necessarily like this price point. And quite honestly, I think if they're going to reprint something, Paldea and Obsidian are probably the two they would reprint. And if you guys recall, there was in fact a reprint of these two sets that hit in October, because I have cases that don't have the do not open before of both Paldea and Obsidian Flames. So moving on to Paradox. Paradox is super interesting because you can still get the product. There's actually a decent amount of this as an SVBase in Europe in English printing. Quite honestly, I actually like the European boxes better. The cases are easier to store and stack. They're much cheaper to ship because the 6x1 long box that the US cases come in, UPS, USPS, all those folks just hate them. And the print quality is much, much better in my experience. But with Paradox, there's still a lot of it available, whereas you don't really see that with SVBase, Paldea Evolved, and Obsidian Flames. And SVBase, you saw it for a long time, but even the availability of the ETBs has started to really, really dry up and disappear. So Paradox, quite honestly, I think Paradox is probably a $250 box in the next month or two. And I hate to say it, but it should be. The set, it's not great on the high end. You have the Groudon, 1 or 2 other cards that are pushing. I can't even think of them off the top of my head, but there's a reasonable amount of depth, and I think this is going to be one of those sets where there's a lot of it available for a while, and it's going to flip flop, and then there's not going to be any of it available, especially as we roll into rotation out. Temporal Forces and Twilight, these two are kind of in a weird spot. So Temporal's a set that nobody gives a shit about. Twilight, people care about it. There's been a ton of it opened. These don't rotate out until 2027. But I don't see Temporal having a lot of product coming to market because, yeah, nobody cares. Twilight, I mean, the problem with Twilight is if they print a meaningful amount, the price is going to get absolutely slaughtered because there is demand, but it's not like Surging Sparks where people can't get enough of it. Same with Stellar Crown. You know, if they reprint a ton of it, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Now, I don't recall ever seeing the second wave of this come from Pokemon. So I would not be surprised if there was a second wave of Stellar that came out at some point. I don't know that for a fact. I just don't recall. I don't recall seeing it come to market. And for those of you who don't know, generally speaking, when they print, they'll print excess supply. And again, this is just an estimate number. 70% will come out approximately. The largest portion of it will come out at release date, and then they'll reserve the rest of it to push out at some point after the fact. You know, Paradox Rift came 9 months after the fact, but then, you know, you guys saw with the 151 ETBs, that was the release of the second portion of the original print. That came like 2 months after the fact because the market demanded it. So, yeah, haven't seen it here. Surging Sparks, this is interesting. We're on our third printing now, so second reprint of this. It's still staying strong at 244. You know, the set value is up there. There's a good number of these selling. The only concern I have with Surging Sparks is it was a November set, and it's early June, so it's 6 months old. There's a lot of runway still in that. Journey Together I want to talk about. So there were rumblings about a restock in Australia, and people have talked about this. I've talked about this a couple weeks ago about how the restock didn't come with enhanced booster boxes. In Europe, they got a restock of non-enhanced booster boxes. However, just this week, they got a restock of enhanced booster boxes. Now, what they didn't tell you is the non-enhanced booster boxes in Europe were printed in the Netherlands. The enhanced booster boxes in Europe were printed in the Netherlands and US because the insert, the promo, and this is what I'm told, was printed in the US and was shipped over there for to insert into the product. In the US, we had the pre-release boxes that were the only non-enhanced, and the first wave was all enhanced. And if we look at what Pokemon does in the US, they print a massive amount, and as I just mentioned, 70% comes out in the first wave and 30% comes out in the second wave. There is no need for a second wave. It would absolutely annihilate the price of Journey Together, but I have no reason to believe that they will not be enhanced booster boxes. I know some people say, hey, they might not be. I might dunk a basketball someday. Probably not. I could barely touch the rim, or the backboard. So it could happen. You know, so you're telling me there's a chance. In my view, the second wave is going to be enhanced. I don't care what anybody says. That's just the MO of the Pokemon Company, and they have proven time and time again that their strategies do not change at a whim like WotC's do. And it is what it is. So Destined Rivals, the box price is still holding up. I did manage to get some more product from Distro, not a lot of it. The price point was reasonably good. You know, it was below MSRP, if you will. So there's plenty of room there to make some money. So that being said, anything from Paradox and earlier, I think is very, very low risk to be reprinted. You know, at this point, you're looking at August at the earliest. You know, you start getting into September, October, you roll in black and white. Now, all of a sudden, they have to print another set, and they're printing 4 different specialty sets at the same time with 151, Paldean Fates, Prismatic, black and white. At the same time, they're trying to reprint Surging, Destined Rivals, Mega Evolutions 1, Mega Evolutions 2. The rest of the sets are going to fall by the wayside. And I know they have more product coming on. Oh, that wasn't good. They have more print capacity coming online, but it's not there yet. So moving on to Specialy Sets, the 151 ETBs, 250 all-time high again. Paladin Fates 160 all-time high. And quite honestly, I don't think most people realize that Fates is going to rotate out in April of next year. And it still remains to be seen what they do if they extend the print life of these. It seems like they did not with Crown Zenith, which is good. So I think that's a good baseline of what we can expect behavior-wise. Shroud Fable, there was actually a buyout of this of like 150, 170 ETBs the last couple days. Shouldn't be $65. I mean, this ETB should be somewhere in the 80, 90 range all day long. It just should be. It's about a year old shortly. There's not going to be any reprint of this. Now, there's a ton of product out there, but it's going to age well. It's going to do nothing. Then all of a sudden, there's going to be none of it out there, and it's going to skyrocket. Prismatic Evolutions. Yeah, this Costco release is the best thing that could have ever happened to most of us. So, yeah, you have a bunch of loudmouths talking about reprints and terrible investments. This is what everybody wants. If you're looking to buy these products and hold them for the long term, you need these reprints to get in at better price points. So this is the time where you accumulate product. Now, do you buy 100% of what you want? You can. I wouldn't do it. But I think ultimately the intrinsic value of the set is so astronomically high. Any dip is going to be near term, no different than what you're seeing with 151 with the Blooming Waters. There's just a lot of them in the market. People are moving them. And quite honestly, people are moving them because they're a giant pain in the ass to store. The 6-box case it's just so big. It takes up so much space. It is the most amazingly designed product from a billboard and get attention perspective in a store. It is the most piss poor bag of garbage design for transportation, logistics, and folks that actually deal with the product. So there's a little bit of a backhanded compliment for you guys at Pokemon, but you already know this, so I'm not telling anything new. But when all the new product dumps on the market and people keep undercutting the price, this is when you have to accumulate your positions. It's not going to MSRP. It's just not. And if it is, then I'm buying hundreds, if not thousands of ETBs at distribution price because there's going to be so much out there. Nobody's going to want it for it to sell at MSRP. I mean, shit, Shroud of Fable is $15 over MSRP now. So, and then I just touch on black and white. Yeah, I think these are ultimately $75 to $90 ETBs when they come out. But we'll see. You know, the Japanese set released last week. It looks like they were sitting at like $75 to $85 per box. You know, it doesn't always equate perfectly, but we'll see. You know, it looks like a lot of the IRs kind of remind me of the shinies, the baby shinies in Paladin Fates, where you seem to get them quite a bit because there's a lot of them, and then they end up only being a couple bucks, but it feels good to open the packs. Yeah, it's like opening Prismatic Evolutions, but you do get hit. Yeah, every couple packs, which, you know, is kind of the only reason why Prismatic Evolutions has a little bit of a knock on it. But yeah, I mean, again, Shroud of Fable, I'd be buying at this point. Prismatic Evolutions, ETBs, I'd be buying if I was buying retail. 151 Blooming Waters, I would be buying all day long. Probably buying sealed cases if you can get them because they are not easily available. So anyway, I want to walk through this again and go through just, you know, some information that's floating around, you know, some misinformation, etc. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, join the Discord. We actually have a couple Pokemon sales coming up, some pretty awesome ones. So I'm not going to announce them here, but if you join the Discord, you will hear them there. So I guess talk soon.